Yeah, so I mean, having been away for 4 days after 7 months of being here was something else. I mean, it's like the exhilaration and being able to see further than your usual view, just incredible. You know,
Yeah.
like this is, I can turn it around and I'll show you guys, like I'm not locked in London. I can
Yeah.
even,
Oh, it's lovely.
yeah, I'm not locked in at all. But you can see
Oh,
that's my
beautiful.
limit.
Yeah, yeah. Whereabouts in London are you?
I'm in Crouch End, which
Oh,
is North
nice.
London. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
place in North London. Hey, Michelle. Just giving you guys a view. Um, but just talking about what it was like to have 4 days with like off to the horizon view, you know, in Cornwall. It was just incredible. And I think, you know, you appreciate so much because we've been so locked down and parts of England are going back into lockdown again. You know, it's like a journey, this thing.
Roller coaster.
So, yeah. So I just want to let people flow in, see who is actually here. But yes, I mean, I just feel like, you know, just going even away for 4 days is like as good as a holiday.
Yeah.
Although a real holiday would be even better. But, you know, let's not compare. It's like bits and pieces back into this flow of life that we have.
If you can change the energy a little bit right now, it's a good thing. And because for me, I noticed that like, you know, I'm very lucky where I live in the countryside, but still I've like reticent to go out, and it's not fear-based. It's just, I've just become really happy just not leaving my immediate environment.
Yeah. Well, that's the shift, you know, and some of that is amazing. Like you realize how little the details of meeting up with people, unless they're friends, but you know, like those guys that used to go on business trips and continue to, I spoke to one of them because I was going to potentially do an event for him. And he said, I traveled last year 108 times, 108 times for business. And I was talking to him about how to do events online. And even though there's still a little bit of wariness about that, you know, not wariness, just not sure, because the old school is like, got to meet up. I just, the finance difference was enormous. So we were talking about doing his event for less than $10,000. And then his normal events are 100,000 a year that he pays for that. And I can't see that it would be any, you know, would it really be any better? Because you know what drunken conferences are like. I mean, some of them are pretty awful, right? And this means you actually do get to interact very close to somebody and see them on a screen and be in connection. And so that was like a revelation to him. And I think that imagine if all those, I will say businessmen mostly, but you know, like business women too. I just want to see who's on here. Stop doing that. You know, it would, the travel, the pollution, the, even on the family. I mean, how that guy's family coped with him for, and he's done that for years, like 20 years of 108, you know, at least business trips per year. That will all change overnight. And I think it's just great, that stuff. So I'd like to check in with you all and just see how, if anybody wants to talk about how you are. It's been, we're at a really potent symbolic day today because we've had Lammas, which is the ancient festival, and I've got the wheat here as the symbol. And when I was traveling back yesterday, I was literally seeing the harvest being cut, literally, like, you know, driving past Stonehenge. They were just harvesting all over the place. I mean, it was just incredible. And that's how accurate that pulse of the ancient festivals would have been. Like really, we're tapping into, this isn't not based on sort of logistics or anything. It's based on the way that the earth moves, the way that cycles move. And then we've got a full moon and it's in Aquarius. So we've got these two things. And I want to talk a little bit about what they mean, and then we'll go into a working dash manifestation. As you know, I never know where we're going, so it's quite interesting, even for me. But does anybody want to say where you are in the year? We're, you know, we're into the 8th month now. We're coming in. Please unmute yourself and jump in. You're all feeling shy. Don't feel shy. Go on, Nikki. Oh, and also, so yeah, go on, Nikki. And then we'll go over to, I can't see your name and you're in shadow, but we'll go to you next. Go, Nikki.
Well, first of all, this is my first circle with you all, so it's really lovely to be here. And just on what Sally said, I had a really beautiful ceremony last night, and it was just me, but I connected in. I set up a fire and connected in with some people in the States, and it was really powerful. But what I did realize was how, when I was looking at what I've brought forth in this year so far, I think I've been quite tough on myself month by month, looking and thinking, well, I haven't really done that stuff. I haven't really done anything because we've been in this one day for 6 months or whatever it has been now. But actually, when I really sat down, I realized that there was a lot to harvest. And I felt a real heartfelt gratitude for all those things. And the things that might be harvesting aren't necessarily the things that we might have been harvesting, or I might have been harvesting in a normal situation. So just, I guess, one is an incredible sense of gratitude for that, and the ritual and ceremony that's really helped me through the last few months. And 2 is just an incredible connection with the heart. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to share, and just say it's really nice to say hello. And it's really nice to share space and time with you all. So thank you.
Absolutely. This is the full moon crew, some of whom have been here the whole time, and some will see it afterwards in a replay because of timing. But it's Amber, isn't it? Suddenly, when I looked at you, it doesn't say your name on it, and you'd gone into a shadowy space. So, hey, Amber, do you want to,
Yeah, hi.
Hey.
Hi, nice to see you all. So I want to share that yesterday, so it was right around the time when the moon started going full, you know, it's around 3 days. It was total chaos. My mind was going over these things. I had 3 really heavy things going on, and I went into it. I was like, I really understand the importance. So what I did was I distracted myself with YouTube videos about positive mindset and how to reprogram your thoughts with positive thinking. And it helped so much. It helped so much. And I wrote lists of my goals down. And so I had to shift that mindset. And I really feel like it helped in a big way, like going deeper into my life and my habitual patterns and stuff too.
Yeah, great.
Oh.
We are looking this time at what needs a chop, and that's the old there's the sweet and the poignant with Lammas always. And that's why I love it so much. It's such a potent festival of all of the ones of the year. This is one of my favorites. And so let me share a little bit about the ancient history of it and the knowledge, and then we can go into the working. And you also it might resonate with you about why you might be having such intense experiences, both of which Nikki and Amber were spot on with this kind of, you know, heartfelt with Nikki, the gratitude of looking at your life and feeling that you actually have achieved something, or achievement is not quite the right word, but you know what I mean? You feeling the harvest, and then the chaos as well. So in Neolithic times, really, which is 15,000 BC, 14,000 BC, it was very much a matriarchal culture, and women were seen as the land. So the body of woman was very much as the land. And we were seen as cyclical because we had our periods, and you have your moon days, and all the tribes would menstruate at the same time because you were all fed the same source of light. So rather than these electric lights or neon flashing lights or whatever that we have nowadays, light was really literally when the sun came up, that's when people got up, and literally when the sun went down, you know, not that long after, if you were in a peasant relationship with working with the land, you would go to bed. And so that rhythm that came with the sun, day in, day out, and then you had the moon, which was slightly different. And how that worked was women would all menstruate on the dark of the moon. That's the day before new moon. So there's this period of time, which dark of the moon is the final waning period of when it's been full all the way down for 2 weeks. And those last 3 days are the dark of the moon, really. And there's one day right before the new moon that there's the turning towards going up again. And so you know, all the red tents and all the mystery rites that have been with the blood rites of women and the positivity of it, all of that was they would go and bleed into the land. And often the blood was the blessing of the land. It was fed to the land. And then you would have the full moon, which was an expression of ovulation, because you know, everybody ovulated. So you've got to really look at the history of the connection of the words. So month, moon, all derived from the same word. Menstruation derives from the word month, moon, all the same thing. So we're all these lunar creatures, and men were also completely affected by it too, because the quietening and the darkening in on the dark of the moon was experienced by the whole tribe. The men would also want to know the visions of the women, because that's the most potent time for divination. And the deepest time that you can connect in. And I don't have my period anymore, but mine was a total blessing. And it was like on time, you know, and I never experienced this as a negative, and I never saw it as a dirty thing or any of those, you know, male-oriented patriarchal things that came along later. I always saw it like, this is just my rhythm and it's fantastic. But I would have these super high moments on the, you know, having a period. And it was like extreme clarity, if you like. And I have mentioned this before, that when they've done studies on female archers, when it comes to they have their period, that's when they can hit like right on target. Boom, straight in the target. And you know, there's also the other thing, like women take no shit when they've got their period, because it's like the level of the energy that's going through. So Amber's saying you call it moonstration. Yeah, exactly. So we've got this whole rhythm that's set up, and then you've got the natural seeding of the rhythms, which was you would sow the seeds at the new moon, and then and the best time to sow seeds was always at the new, or those periods of just the 3 days after the new. That's the best thriving growth period. So when you look at the bigger piece of that, then we've done many months, and we're coming towards the 8th month, and you've got this harvest period going on, because we're moving all the way from the winter solstice with no sun, diminished light, all the way to the summer solstice, which is massive light. That's the solar journey. And Lammas comes after the solar journey has hit its peak. And that there is no surprise about that, because it's very deeply connected to a male rhythm. And the male rhythm is, in the old days, the king was not a king forever, and leadership was not forever. It was a period of time in your life, especially in the male cycle, that they would go through the youth and the sort of wayward, you know, flourish of youth, and then they get serious and they get into one woman, and then they would go into the kingship phase, which was, rather than saying it was an age, it was a middle phase, right? Because it could be any period of age in that, but it necessarily had to have all the youth out of the way, all that wayward action, sowing the seeds of youth thing, and then they would get more serious, and then they would take on some great adventures or great tasks, and then they would become ready for kingship. And the king was, in the Neolithic period, was definitely would marry the land. And the woman was the divine feminine, would marry the divine masculine in a rite, a marriage ceremony. That ceremony was sacred tantric sexuality. And it was definitely nothing to do with marriage as we know it. It wasn't between a man and a woman who were going to stay together forever. So the king would have a sacred sex rite with a high priestess of the land. And this was considered, you know, like major tantra. And it was his initiation into honoring the land, loving the land that he was to rule, I won't say over, rule with. And his domain and dominion was all connected in with the divine feminine. And there's the story of the harvest is that if a king stays too long and doesn't pass on his power to his successor, the energy becomes rotten. And it's just like a rotten harvest, that there's a time when there's perfection in the period of the leadership, which is it's got everything going for it. It's learned its lessons, it's done its thing, it's taken on challenges, it's honored the land, it's honored the very body of the land that it's going to govern and help. And the people are part of the land too. And when he's gone through the seriousness of the marriage as well, which was a sacred tantric sexuality rite, then he was ready for kingship. And then if he stayed too long, just like any harvest, and when you see that, when you see flowers opening, like my roses, I watch them, there's these moments where you're like, oh, can it go any further? You know, whoa, is it gonna, you know, just go that little bit further? And it does. And so there's a daily thing where you're watching that harvest, like when is it going to be ready? But if you leave it too long, you'll see it fade in a day. Like it's just whoosh, straight out. That's the beauty of cycles. It's the beauty of right timing, divine timing. It's also the beauty of why things aren't there to last forever, right? And kings who would never give up their power were considered, you know, sort of out of order with the cycles of time. And the elder man needed to give his power to the young man. And that was just the way of it. It should be that way. So way back when there were sacrifices, definitely, literally, because, you know, we come from very bloody civilization way back, and we still are in it, right? But it was, the king was sacrificed for the land. And there is evidence for sure that this was a literal act. Like he had a period of kingship, often for 7 years. It was a potent thing. He was given everything during that time. And if he took on all of those powers, then he was also the sacrificial king. And you may have heard this term before. The fool is another character you see him in the tarot, but you also see him in some representations of court. You know, at court, there was the fool. Well, who was the fool? The fool was somebody who had the same power as the king. He was the only one who could challenge the king because he do it with humor. So there was always this idiot fool kind of thing. He was a bit oblivious. But when the kings got to the point where they didn't really want to be sacrificed, they would pass their power to the fool, and the fool would be king for a day or maybe a year, and he would be treated just the same as the king. He would be given all the rights, looked after, you know, and then he was sacrificed instead of the king. And so there was this period of time when, it's way back when, that we know that there were these rites observed quite literally, but then they became symbolic. But the story of the harvest still has this poignancy that when you see the peak of something, it's honoring the peak of something, and the peak is a peak. You can't say the peak is a trough. It's not. It's a peak. And so it's honoring that, like, and you can honor it in all sorts of ways. Like you can honor it in the energy that you give to something. You can honor it in often a relationship blossoms, and that's with friendship also. but not all friendships are meant to last. And not all relationships are meant to be there forever. And that's the poignancy of the harvest, because there is the wisdom of looking at something which is growth and understanding that it goes to a certain point. And then if you hold on to it for too long, it's got this other side to it, which is then there's the sacrifice. And you must learn to sacrifice things. You must learn to tweak and prune and learn to, in leadership, in power, to say no. And that's your boundary. And that's the sacrifice. So all of that is in Lammas, and all of the things switching to business briefly. This is the one time in the year, besides Samhain, which is Halloween, and when we're slipping into the dark, this is the one time to do a review of everything in your business. And then the things that haven't worked, the ones that you just be honest about it and just go, that is not working, rather than, oh, I'll give it a few more, months. All of these things that we think that we can just strain on with, but they just simply aren't working. And so the other piece in there is honesty. And you've got the Aquarian moon, which comes up around Lammas, is very much to do with honesty, like honesty in yourself. Is this food working for me? Yes or no? There is no confusion. Confusion is bullshit. It doesn't exist. We are never confused. And if you know this if you really know this, like it's a mantra, there is no confusion. Then you can go through the things that you have those queries about, and you will know that you hold on to things for too long because you're sad to let them go, right? Or an old pattern that, it looked so good for so long. I've had this with friendships, and I felt like heartbroken, but they just don't always last, relationships definitely don't, but they were there for the season, and not everything is meant to be there forever. Some things are, that's different. It works with all cycles. It keeps moving. And so this is the time when you could look at your team and say, like, who is working in the team? This is business. You could look at your food and say, what's working for you? And, there are things that you just hang on to for far too long. And that's a great conversation around all the stuff to do with the kindness of the land and checking into the kindness of, I think we've got Rachel on here too. I'm sure I saw your name. Rachel, I know you're here. And Rachel is, there she is, has got a brand called The Kinder Way. And it's all about bringing consciousness around veganism. Perfect timing for this thought, because the king who no longer regards the land as his marriage, like as his, sacred sexual union with the land, becomes corrupt. And that's what farming is now. It's corrupted. Industrial farming is an example of the power that has gone on for too long, in this sense, like we don't even look at it anymore. We don't even care. We just don't actually want to look at it because it's too painful. That's when the harvest has gone sour. That's when we no longer care about even the animals, even the things that you eat. If you're an omnivore, you don't even care about the frequency of what you're eating. And you can use it in so many ways to look at things that have gone sour in life. And that vibrancy of being powerful enough to say, I'm the one, I've got to own up and go, this is not working. And the hardest ones I know are personal relationships. Those are the toughest, certainly for me, when I've had to let them go. And I really like those people, and it's been like, heartbreaking, as you know. So you can see that the realms of leadership and power, and especially with women being the land, what are you doing to honor the land? What are you doing to honor yourself? And if something is not working, then this is a great time to have that conversation with yourself and just get really straight. There is no confusion. And I knew this already because I did a lot of work with Landmark, which is, you know, great communication body and all of that. But they used to say confusion is a racket. It's a racket that we play on ourselves. Oh, I'm so confused. I have no idea. It's just, no, actually, it's a way that we get round having to take any responsibility for something, right? So when you become word is oath, like in the old ways, my word means something. When you become known for your word, like, then what comes out of your mouth is what it becomes creation itself, because you are creating in the feminine. Manifestation comes from, I am the land, therefore I don't need a legal document to do a deal with somebody. The old ways were, you would just you'd spit and shake hands. Or in the Irish way, they used to shake hands through a standing stone, a hole in a standing stone. So there are all these other ways of, the level of honor and trust and all of that is linked directly with land. It's also linked directly with your ability to create and manifest. And so when I know I am my word, when I am known to be my word, then something happens. People know that they're entering into a relationship with me, and I am who I say, and I am trustworthy, and all of those things, and there is no corruption of power, right? So that's Lammas. All of this is part of this teaching. So when you get to the place of really truly understanding there is no confusion whatsoever, ever, like we always know, right? We always know. And you can go in there and find your heart and do the breath and ask the question, and you'll always know. You'll always get an answer. That's direct to spirit, but it's also direct to heart and land. Same, you know, if you go out into nature and you ask for a sign for something, you will get a sign for something. It's just completely linked. So with that in mind, I'm going to do a little working to see where we are. And I already set it up beforehand. So I do channeling directly, and I always tweak just before I'm about to come on, so that I'm just ready straight away to go into it. So we can go straight into it, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Okay. So just take a deep breath in. And exhale. And allow your body to drop down. Let's take it down like 20 notches, just like that. And take another deep breath in through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And another one of those. Deep breath in through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And as you continue breathing, allow yourself to start breathing with every cell in your body. So every cell of your body is breathing in light and this harvest full moon. And as you breathe out, anything that is not serving you, anything that feels tiring, wearing, anything that is not aligned, breathe it out. And then breathing in again. Fill up every cell of your body with this full moon, high vibration of the year, where it's acute understanding of honesty, truth. What is good for you? What is harvest? Breathe it into every cell of your body. And as you're breathing out, you could breathe out that thought that you have confusion. Just breathe it straight out. It doesn't exist. And breathing in again, let's breathe into the back of your heart. Sending little fires into each cell in the back of the heart, this place which is often shut down, hasn't had much attention, had shame in the past. And breathe it out. Just breathe it out like black smoke, anything that's coming up for you, just breathe it out. And as you do this, you could do a body scan now, allowing yourself to just experience there is no confusion. And so you can just ask your body, where do I hold constriction? And then breathe that out. And then ask your body again to just identify areas which may have ancient patterns. They may be as old as many lives, past lives. They may be from childhood. They may be cultural. Just breathe in, find those places, locate them, and just let them go. And you find yourself in the center of a sacred circle. You're wearing a golden gown, the color of wheat. And you even have a wheat headdress woven and placed carefully on your head. You feel like you are indeed back in the time of the magical tantric rite of the king, marrying the queen. And whichever you relate to, whether you relate to being the king or whether you relate to being the queen, identify yourself in that presence so it's open to you to be who you truly are. And at the time of leadership, you find yourself in this sacred circle, and all the stones who are so ancient, and they're all made of crystal, and they have this high vibrational frequency. As you're standing in the center, dressed for Lammas itself, you can hear the sounds going through these stones, ancient stones, attuning your higher vibrations. Some of them will occur like bell-like sounds or chimes, but all the stones are moving and having sounds ripple through them, which is starting to awaken your leadership, your ability to be the king or the queen that you most desire. And you feel that opening in your heart, like just when you were a child, that you could be anything that you wanted to be. And that is truly what a king or a queen is like. They don't hold back. They're just completely in the right frequency for themselves, hearing them a little bit like the tunes of a harp or strings or gongs or bells. And this is your sound. And as you listen, you can hear these frequencies moving through these ancient stones. And you are aware that this is the day in which, on the full moon, there would be a marriage taking place. And as you stand there waiting in the center of the circle, a young boy and a young girl come forward. The young girl offers you bread to eat. And it's this ancient kind of flat bread back in prehistoric times. And the boy brings you some mead, which was made from golden honey. And as you eat a piece of the land and you drink a piece of the rivers, you feel yourself taking on this ancient ability of leadership in complete communion with the land. And they ask you to test it out. And so you raise your left hand and you're able to move the weather systems. So as you observe yourself standing in this circle, you play with it a little bit. You can bring clouds over, or you can cause rain with your left hand. You can draw the sun to be straight over this circle. And all of it is just in tune, attunement, with this ancient right of governing and domain, that you have the right of domain. And so allowing yourself to play with this for a moment, just draw some clouds over you, then send them away. Make the sunshine brighter and slow it down. And then allow yourself to cause rain. And as you do this, you feel this ancient connection that with your left hand, you are in complete attunement with everything, all your surroundings. And once you've played a little bit with that, they ask you to start using your right hand. Your right hand, when you place it down alongside your body, you feel an electrical current moving all the way through your heart, all the way down through your fingers. And you feel the connection to the center of the earth. You actually send a current all the way down to this place, which is New Earth, to be able to start creating and forming the earth around you that you want. As you wiggle your fingers, you can feel the current going straight into the earth. And you feel that place in the earth, which is indeed not solid. And then as you raise your hand above you, you feel that current now flowing out directly above, straight into the universe. And you feel that you are able to actually connect with galaxies. This is your form of connection, the most ancient form. And when people hold wands or scepters of the kingship or the queendom, they're actually showing this ability to conduct energy. The young boy and young girl now ask you to follow them, for it's time for you to observe your own marriage. And this is the marriage with the land. As you walk through an archway in these ancient stones, you find yourself walking out into a procession way of ancient stones. And as you walk through, each one hums a different sound. And you feel yourself full of exhilaration and full of laughter as you're walking through this procession where you're hearing the sounds as they're honoring you as you're walking by. And gradually, as you go up a hill in this processional stone route, you see at the very end of it, there are two chairs like thrones, and you're invited to sit on one of them. And as you do so, you feel as you reach out with both hands, you conduct weather and current, connection, and all the systems and cycles that you have at your fingertips, suddenly coming to awareness. And there's a massive crowd gathered around you. And it's now time to speak of all the celebrations and all the things that you are proud of this year. So thinking back all the way to last August, look for celebrations that you can truly see some level of growth, or you are truly finding your calling, or you're attuned with what you're here to do. And the crowd actually want you to speak them out loud. So in your mind, you address the crowd and you tell them exactly what you've done. So take a moment to actually connect with all the things that you are proud of in this period of time. Allow yourself to just deeply connect in. And feel what it's like when you are able to open your heart to every positive celebration that you feel honored for, just for being you. Feel the direct connection between heart and celebration. And the crowd celebrate wildly. They throw flowers in the air, trumpets go off, people break into dance as you are speaking into existence all the celebrations that you have had and that they can celebrate. And then a little bit away, you see a very dark figure. You can't tell whether it's a male or a female. But this dark figure, which is in a dark robe, starts moving towards you. And you realize that they're holding a sickle in their hand. They ask you to start to focus on the areas in your body which are not serving you, that you can feel deep constriction, maybe unhappiness. And as you breathe these things to life, it could be shame, it could be sadness. They start to gather at your solar plexus. And the gathering, they occur like a black bean just outside your body. A small black bean, which is sucking up all the energy of the things that no longer serve you. This black bean, which hovers at the solar plexus, start to feel this slightly sickly feeling as you're identifying some of the things that are no longer serving you and allowing this black bean, the shape of like a kidney bean, but it's black, to just gently absorb all these energies that no longer serve you. Some of them you may even have names for. Scan your body of relationships that make you feel toxic. Find the areas and then send them into the black bean. Scan your body and find any evidence of food that is not serving you, the highest frequency. Check in with drink, anything that doesn't serve you. It could be coffee, it could be alcohol, it could be things like sugar gathering into the black bean. And then ask yourself the question, are you also in the right place? Literally on the planet, are you in the right place on the land? Is there another place that would serve you better and allow that energy to come into the black bean? If you are truly not in the right place, send it into this bean. The bean has a thin cord which is attached to your solar plexus. And the figure who is in dark, shrouded robes, walks up to you now and holds the black bean as an energy. You feel the cord is starting to pull out as it pulls it away from your body. And you feel this strong, sickly, sucking kind of energy. And then they raise their left hand and with a sweep of the sickle cut straight through the cord. And as you take a breath, you feel the openness of your solar plexus and you tap into this feeling of golden light, connecting all the way through into your power center. The figure in the dark robe now says it's time for them to go, but they have indeed taken away the poison that is holding you back. And you thank them with much gratitude. And as you turn to the right, you see that your lover has arrived. This person for one night will be part of the sacred marriage of the land. The king or the queen who has come to unite with you sits beside you and places his or her hand in yours. And you feel this deep, loving connection. That love which is so connected to place and home and kingdom and queendom, to the domain itself. The hand that holds you is the hand that steadies you. And there is nothing uncertain about this. It is such a wave of reassurance. And as you turn and face them, you speak the oaths of which you can be counted on. These are ancient oaths between a couple, which are everything to do with your protection of the land, of the people, of the animals. And you feel that this other person shares everything that you do. And you feel this energy between the two of you, like this sacred tantric union of hearts, of courage, joining together, that you are not alone on this path. Presently, you stand up and you realize that the full moon has come out in the night sky. And this is a celebration. Around you, in every direction, the wheat fields are waving in the indigo sky. And you realize this is the time when you will go and make love with this tantric partner. Make love for the land. Make love for everything that is good for you. Honoring yourself at the highest level. And feeling this deep connection. The beingness, the where you are, the food you eat, the food you drink, the people you walk with. Feel that like this deep wave of heart opening. And as you take yourselves off to this private space, knowing that this night is yours, and that the entire tribe are with you, and their hearts are with you, you glance up at that beautiful moon, and it's as if you see two circles of the moon just coming straight into your eyes, and you feel that sense of being bedazzled. Breathe that in. Allow your energies to balance. And we're going to come out of this by rubbing your hands together. And then placing them over your closed eyes, breathe in and exhale. And again, keeping your eyes shut, rub, 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 rub. Place them over your closed eyes, breathe in and exhale. And one more of those, rub, 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 rub. Really generate heat. Place them over your closed eyes and exhale. And then you can rub your hair, back of your neck, throat, face, jaw. Just allow yourself to come into the space. So we have just 10 minutes for anybody who wants to say anything. Feeling that something has been removed from you that held you back. So now is a time that you can be honest with yourself, tapping into that connection. You should, even if you were heading down a path of something that isn't working for you, you would feel that sucking energy now. I felt it quite strongly, like it was a real weird, I don't know, just a like out of tune feeling with that being. Does anyone want to say anything at all?
Hi, this is Amy. Um, there were so many tears even before you started the meditation. And I think I'll be moving the end of this year. I know I'm going to be moving by the end of this year. So thank you so much for this, Sally.
Oh, much love to you. Yeah. Well, you know, right? You know. I think it's a great comfort to just have that level of clarity and to chop off all the old, like, I'm not doing this anymore. So we'll find out where you go. The guidance will be there. Anyone else? Did you feel that you had guidance to let something go? Taiwan, of all places. Was that to me? No, that was to everybody, right? Moving to Taiwan. That's massive.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you all for being in this space. It is so beautiful, and I feel a huge relief for getting clarity. And it just came to me, and I love what you said, that confusion is just a bullshit. Is because we don't want to give up to the convenience and the comfort that we have created over the years. But yeah, when you see the truth, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true leadership.
Yeah, and it might feel hard and difficult because it is a new beginning. But when you feel called to do it, you just have to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. You look like you've had quite an emotional one, you know, quite an emotional understanding there. I think, you know, one of the things that I love about it is I'm a gardener and I so know what pruning does. It really does work, right? To not just let things go wild all the time. There's one point or maybe 2 points in the year that you need to prune. And that's the chop, right? And funnily enough, I had an experience this year. I've had some really uncomfortable conversations this year in business. You know, and one of the reasons probably is because I had this story for a very long time. I love working with other people. I love collaborating. And so the collaborations I always thought must be like in a business partnership somehow. But what I realized is actually, no, I want to be my own woman in business. And then I want to collaborate in teams or collaborations, but that people who collaborate with me are, you know, in their own business. So I don't want to be a business partner with anyone ever again. And that one was really tough to have these conversations because I so love people and I really want to work with them. But there's something in my awakening of you know, my own power, if you like, that I need to be the one who makes all the decisions, really. And I'd always played it small because I love people so much. So this was the year I had to have quite a number of really icky conversations, and it was all around no, which isn't my favorite way of being. I'm such a like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And this was like, no. And it felt really like, ugh, you know, these horrible moments of the no. But I tell you what, I had them because there was no confusion, right? I was just like, there is no confusion. And this is a no. And there's all these no's, like this is the year of no. So I went through the uncomfortable conversations and I've never felt more potent, powerful. And I'm getting offers all over the place for really big opportunities, because I've condensed my power. So this is that thing around Lammas, which is you need to prune and be honest, you know, and let some things go. And it's poignant, but then you're going to get these incredible flowerings and opportunities that happen, which are pure at your level energy. So I hope you really feel this beautiful time, because right after Lammas, there's the month of August, which is it's not the month to do much. Once you've done the chop, it's the month to let things all settle. And that's why it's quite a tough month in terms of business process. Like you try and build something, in August, it's often not the time to do it. Like nobody's responding, they're on holiday and all of that. But there is also a natural cycle that once you've done this chopping, it needs to settle. And then by September, there's this rush of energy again. So treat yourselves well. We will be back in the next month, in the next moon, a moon from now. And just watch this cycle. After you prune something, just watch it starts to shoot up. You know? Sending you so much love. Namaste. So much love. See you in a month.